Welcome to Talk to Me, Conversations on Relationship Power, hosted by Love Before All. I'm Annie Paraison. Relationships are the blueprint for everything we build, from our families to our teams to our communities. Join us for real conversations that move beyond the surface. Let's grow in love together to grow the beloved community. And welcome back to Talk to Me. Today, we're diving into the messy, beautiful reality of transitions. And I cannot think of a better guide for this than our guest, Nicole Piispanen, though you might know her as Nikki. Nikki is a therapist turned storyteller and the host of the It's Both podcast, which focuses on personal growth for real life transitions, along with its companion series of guided meditations for anxiety and emotional regulation. Her work lives right where two things can be true at once. She creates spaces for honest conversations about duality, holding grief and joy, clarity and confusion, freedom and fear, and teaches us the practice of sitting with tension long enough to find what's wise and kind. Nikki, welcome to the beloved community.
Thank you so much,
before
Annie.
before we jump into the deep end of navigating life's messy transitions, we ground every single episode of the show with this exact same question. We believe that we all have a blueprint for connection. So looking back, who or what taught you the most about relationships, and how has that shaped who you are today?
Boy. Okay. Well, I could say a lot. What I will say is I think the biggest impact and who and what did that for me, first I would say is my mom. I think there's a lot I learned from my mom in the sense of love matters more than anything. We had such a chaotic, disruptive, traumatic experience when I was a kid and with her, and we went through a lot together. And my mom is very much a fly by the, seat of your pants kind of woman. Not a lot of stability, kind of was just a child at heart, would just go wherever the wind led her, which I love about her. Also made a really kind of hard growing up. There's not a lot of stability, but it didn't really matter because what mattered was that she loved me and she loved me deeply and she loved me authentically no matter what. And so all of the other stuff kind of just faded away. I think that's one key thing that I would say, that she taught me to love and care fiercely and deeply. And that is the greatest gift I could have been given. So I'll start with that. In part, or another part of that, I would say the biggest what that did this for me in my personal story growing up, without getting into a lot of details, I grew up in this familial system where my dad was about 18 years older than my mom. There was a lot of conflict between the two of them. They divorced when I was at a very young age, and it was due to some pretty serious allegations of abuse. And so I grew up in a world where the duality started very young for me, and it was my mom is essentially saying my dad is a monster. She didn't use those words, right? But she was scared for me. She was trying to protect me. And my dad is saying, your mom is crazy. She went through her own abuse and she is misinterpreting what is happening. And this is all from her dysfunction. So I grew up in a world in which I loved both of those people deeply. And their experiences of reality were so vastly different. And I had to sit with this tension at a very young age of, well, who is telling the truth? Quotes, right? I'm going to use the quotes. Who's telling the truth? Whose version is right here? Is it crazy or is it monster? Like, what is it? And I kind of came to a place throughout all the years where what this taught me about relationships is there's truth in both to some degree, that both of their realities exist, and both of those realities will forever exist within me. I'm never going to really know what the actual events, I don't actually know, and I'm never going to know. But what I can do is keep in relationship with each of them in the best way that I can. Very long answer. those are the two kind of pivotal moments that I would say taught me about relationships.
But very clear. And I love that you brought up your early relationships because they tend to be the blueprint for everything until we become adults and we choose to not allow them to dictate everything, right? Especially when it comes to instability. So when we're young, we watch how the adults around us handle disruption, and sometimes they model it with panic, and if we're fortunate, they model it with grace. So when you look back
Mm.
at your early life, what or who modeled what it looked like to navigate change or disruption while still holding on to love and connection? I thought, and I know you brought your mom up a little bit when it comes to love, but you also mentioned there was like a lot of
Mm-mm.
instability. So when it came to navigating this space that you now sit in, right?
Mhm.
What or who is the epitome of like, okay, this is kind of why I am the way that I am, or why I deal with change the way that I do.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I want to say this with all the love I can. I think I don't have a person that I can reflect on that taught me this is the really healthy way to deal with it. I think what I have learned to navigate through the years was pulling the pieces that I felt I needed to create something of my own together to find my own way, which has been, not to be on the nose, but both really hard and also really empowering in the sense that I didn't see one person fully show me what it needed to be like. Like, that was a really good guide for that. I think I pulled a lot of pieces from my mom and some from my dad too in very different ways, but I think most of it was having to adapt through high stress situations and figuring out what worked and how to make that healthy for me, if that makes sense. And I didn't do it for a long time. I think I only recently in, young adulthood to adulthood found a way to take the pieces that were good and leave the pieces that were disruptive or maladaptive. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think your response is a beautiful way, or it's a beautiful conclusion or interpretation of why in my work I focus on the way we relate to each other. Because it's not one person or one event.
Yeah.
It's the accumulation of the ways those things have touched you over the years that have now grown you into this person you are today. In the first episode, I talk about how it's important to not get so attached to who you are today because the
Yeah,
relationships you have just constantly make these micro changes in who you are.
for sure.
And if you're lucky, you're also paying attention to those and you're sharing them with the people that you love.
Hmm.
And to your point, not practicing it for a long time because it comes with like someone needs to call your attention to it
Yeah.
in someone you're in relationship with that you trust can now shed light on this, huh? And then you start to become more aware. And
Yeah.
this is why some of the work is about around self-awareness as well. And so let's talk about your work with meditation and anxiety.
Hmm.
And you deal directly with the nervous system. And a big part of Love Before All is focusing on the leader's nervous system because we know when it's kind of like the parent, when the parent can regulate their nervous system, it not only teaches the child and the team how to do that, it also sets the tone for us to be clear, kind, and present in whatever it is that we're doing. So in organizations, we constantly talk about change management and pivoting, but our human brains don't really enjoy change.
No.
And because of that, our threat response tends to spike. As a therapist, I'm wondering let me rephrase, can you share either in your clinical work, your business, or your life, when prioritizing a particular relationship and providing an anchor for safety actually made a difference in a transition and it helped you navigate that transition successfully than maybe you would have if you'd done it alone.
Yeah. I would say there's not a situation where that isn't the case. I can give you some examples for sure, but I think what you're saying is it's like spot on because I don't. well, I don't believe that true, lasting, impactful change at a deep core level can happen. I don't want to say ever, can generally happen without relationship. And so, to give some examples, I will say on like thinking about my professional work, leading a team, having a team that I support and supervise and manage. When you can sit with someone through a transition and connect with them on a human level first, number one, they're going to feel safe. Obviously, you know this. I'm sure many of your listeners know this too, but like they're going to feel safe and comfortable. If they feel safe and comfortable and they feel like you get them, you hear them, you know them on a personal level, they are going to be 10 times more likely to hear whatever feedback you have, whatever support you have. So if you're in a work setting and you need to give some feedback that's a little bit hard, or you need to give constructive feedback, I'm going to be 10 times more likely to hear you if I think you actually know Nicole or Nikki, you know me, and you're giving me feedback that is actually specific to me because you're listening. I think the same applies to my partner. I'm going to use my husband as an example. Like if my husband didn't sit down and like actually listen to something that was going on in my life, and then he just decided to come in and be like, well, here's what you need to do. No. You think I'm going to hear what he has to say? And if I have to get through the moment, I'm going to kind of be like this, and my arms are going to be crossed, and I'm going to be like, yeah, right, okay. And it creates resentment, it creates disconnection. And so, same with parenting. I mean, it literally is mirrored everywhere. And I think the relationship is key because we're not meant to be in isolation in any phase of our life. We're not meant to be in isolation personally, in the workspace, wherever it is. We are meant to be in community. Now, you can have boundaries and you can have professional boundaries, you can have professional interactions, but you still have to connect on that core relationship level, or your nervous system, our biology is not going to feel safe to be creative, to be productive, or even to be connective.
Thank you for emphasizing the power of relationship in the different spaces in your life. And of course, this is where the concept of it's both feels so relevant, right? Because we can
Mm-hmm.
experience the joy of growth and also the grief of outgrowing the spaces we used to fit into. And you don't think about that, but it's like, yeah, growing often means you're leaving behind that space because you've outgrown it.
Yeah.
So, with that, growth requires change, and change often means leaving comfortable things behind. Can you share a moment of intense transition that caused a breakdown in a relationship? And what did that moment teach you about the tension between letting go and holding boundaries?
I think the most applicable, there's a lot, but I think the most applicable one I would say is I was previously married before this marriage, and I was married, very long story, talk about it a lot on my podcast, but I was married at 18, and it was very toxic, unhealthy, abusive. I didn't know no was an option. I didn't know leaving was an option for many reasons. And when I had been in this relationship since I was 14 and he was 20 at the time. A lot of things happening in that relationship that weren't okay. But I say all that to say, context to say, when I started grad school, I went to grad school to be a therapist, and I knew something in my soul, spirit, something in me was going, this relationship isn't right. And also, I don't feel like I can get out. And I felt stuck, and I felt like something was wrong because I didn't have language to articulate that something was wrong, or that it was abuse or toxicity. I couldn't do that. So I went to grad school. I started working on myself. And the first thing they tell you in grad school, if you're at a good grad school, is make sure you're in therapy and doing your own work. And do not become a therapist if you're not doing that. And I was like, I'm over here trying to always be I'm like, okay, got it. I'm gonna go to therapy. So it's the first time as an adult I went to therapy. I went to therapy a lot as a kid for some, things I mentioned earlier, but as an adult I went, and I was like starting to do all this work, and I was doing deep personal growth. Deep personal growth with somebody who gave me language to what I was feeling. And I'm telling you, I feel like I grew 3 times my internal size within a year. And to answer your question, what that did for me was go, I need to start setting boundaries. I need to start speaking up for myself. I need to start saying no. And it was an intense transition, in addition to being in grad school, which was a transition, in addition to being in an unhealthy marriage, in addition to this was also around the time of like the 2008 collapse of the like market and there were no jobs. And it was just like a really crazy time to graduate college. I'll say that, and to be married and be in this situation. So I was going through all these things and I started to do my own personal growth, and things got 10 times worse in the marriage because oftentimes what people don't realize is when you start to get healthy, when you start to grow, it brings conflict. It almost always brings conflict, either internally or externally or both. And both of those things were happening for me. I was fighting with my internal self because it was uncomfortable. I didn't like fighting, and I felt like it was wrong because I was setting a boundary. I had to break out of that. And it created a massive gap between the two of us, a gap that needed to happen because it helped me realize this is not okay. This is not right. This is not safe. This is what needs to change. So that was the transition, many transitions I was going through. And it really did, it was the beginning of the end. And thank goodness it was, because if I didn't have the courage, I'm trying to be kind to myself back then. Sometimes I'm like, what were you doing? What was I doing? I don't know. But I'm having grace with myself and going, you were doing the best that you could. And you had the courage to change and to make some changes, which brought the end, which was really the beginning.
Couple of things I want to lift up in what you said. First one was that language piece. Oh my goodness. When
Mm-hmm.
you find the language to
Mm-hmm.
express where you sitting, the relief that you can physically feel, it's
Yeah.
like tangible. And
Yes.
then there was the other piece around the conflict that your growth causes,
Mm-hmm.
inner and outer conflict, right?
Yeah.
Because I go back to like, I love the book Letting Go because it really has helped
Yeah.
me let go.
Yeah.
Because what causes conflicts when you're growing is the people who want to hold on to that person that you used to be.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
then the inner conflict too is I love this person.
Mm-hmm.
Do I go back to being this individual because that's what they want me to be? When I know in my body, I know in my spirit that this is the new chapter for me.
Yeah.
And that's the inner conflict. And I think the language for me has been essential because the language helps me bridge that.
Mm-hmm.
I can share the growth that's happening with the individual so that their brain doesn't feel like they're losing me. You know, their nervous system is what I'm trying to calm when I share, oh, I know these growths are happening, but it doesn't mean our relationship is ending, unlike your situation,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a healthy way to keep, you're still going to have conflict because not everyone's going to accept the fact that you're outgrowing this that you used to be in and they want you there. And I think what's beautiful is having the language to compassionately set the boundaries and be accountable to yourself in holding those boundaries because they're necessary if you want to stay in this new space that you're growing into. Which leads us right into one of the pivotal levers for all is love. Because in my experience, I've found
Yeah.
that love is one, if not the most powerful lever for transformation and
Mm-hmm.
transformation that's permanent. So we anchor in love in all of the ways that it shows up in different settings. And we partner with different individuals depending on the setting to share like what does it look like? Because I think when we think love sometimes we think fluff, we think sentiment, we think feeling,
Mm-hmm.
but the love I'm talking about is very action oriented. It's very honoring of the human being that I'm in relation with.
Yes.
So when you are kind of helping people through major life transitions, What is your personal philosophy? Like, this is the part where I want to say, like, if there was a non-negotiable principle for you in how you support people in transition or how you hold yourself when you're going through transitions, what would that be?
Think this is kind of the impetus of the work I'm doing with It's Both is I think a non-negotiable is giving yourself the time and the space that you can't get out of this. You should not get out of this piece or it's going to be rough. To really, it could be micro moments too, but giving yourself the time and the space to go, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling that way? And I know it seems so basic and so simple, and people are like, well, of course. I'm like, no, not of course. Most of us don't do it. Even therapists don't do it. Even highly intelligent, highly emotional aware people. I think what I would say is go back to the basics. Me too. I have to remind myself daily, which is that like a lot of my meditations aren't typical, just emptying your mind. They're really guided around emotional awareness and regulation because if you're not aware of what you are feeling, it seeps out of you in ways you don't want it to typically. And it simply takes stating it out loud or under your breath or in your brain of saying every single thing you're feeling, not just one. Do not just say one emotion because there is almost never a moment when you're feeling just one thing. Say as many as you can, list it out in a transition. I'll give an example. We are, as a family, preparing to move, and I am feeling excited. I'm feeling terrified. I'm feeling really lonely. I'm feeling excited. I'm also feeling hopeful, but I'm also grieving. I'm also feeling loss. And not if, when I don't acknowledge that, I just feel what I call an internal tornado. It feels a lot like anxiety, but it's slightly different in the sense that it's overwhelm, it's anxiety, it's all these things sitting in your chest and stomach, and you feel confused. And then you start to question, am I making the right choice? And you could apply this to a relationship, to a career, whatever. But you start to question your choices because you're feeling an internal tornado. And when you start to name what you're feeling, there is release in that. And like biologically, it kind of is like a validation to your own self of like, oh, I'm actually feeling a lot of things right now. Oh, I'm actually not angry. I'm actually lonely and grieving, but it's showing up as anger. I say all that to say that is a non negotiable that seems simple. It seems like that's not really going to do anything. I promise you, it does the most. It's free, it's easy, it's quick, and you can do it as often as you need to, no matter where you are, and it helps to center you. And I think the last thing I'll say about it is transition, even the name in itself, transition is so layered and so complex. When you're not calling it out and naming it, you get lost in the complexity. You don't need to fix it. Most of the time in transition, there's no way to simplify or optimize what you're going through. There's just not. It's just going to be really hard. So name it. And that's how you get through. Because guess what? You can do hard things. Name it and then remind yourself, I can do hard things. I do hard things all the time, and I can do this.
I'm navigating transition currently in my life, and I needed to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm. Oof. I am always thinking about the world in a way or the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important to think about moving from individual therapy to collective healing and what we like to call what does the beloved community look like? So, because we live in a world, in a society currently going through a massive and rapid shifts, does it, what would it take to build a culture of care, whether you're in your family, in your company, or in a community that allows resilience to be very present when the world around them feels so unstable?
I'm going to say the thing that I know I wouldn't want to hear, but I know is true. And that's you got to do it yourself. And It has to start with yourself and modeling. And I say that with an ugh, because honestly, I am doing all of this because these are the things I struggle with and I need to hear. And I want someone to just tell me the 5 steps that I need to take to create a good system. And that doesn't really exist. I mean, yeah, you can maybe give some people 5 steps, but like, that's not the reality of it, Annie. And I think the reality is you start with yourself and you model it, and you don't let someone else's discomfort change how you show up, which is often what I struggle with. Is I'm highly empathetic and responsive and genuinely want to make people happy. And I don't mean people please, like that's a part of it. That's the unhealth of it. But I just want to make people, I love that. I love love. I love all those things. So I think what I'm saying is you got to model it. And oh, that's a lot of work. And also, it takes making people uncomfortable, which is my least favorite thing to do. I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. I want to make everybody smile and happy and laugh and leave me going, oh, what a wonderful person. But when you model these things, people aren't going to like it. There are going to be some people that aren't going to like it because it's uncomfortable. It's forcing them to be vulnerable. It's forcing them to be authentic. And a lot of times it's easier to be inauthentic and to have a shield than it is to be authentic. So honestly, the more we can stay true to ourselves and model it, it forces discomfort that's needed for others to start micro changes in themselves. And the quick little thing I'll say in relation to work, because this is, I think, more people can get it more for relational stuff at home. But in the work setting, like creating a space where me and my team would actually connect on a deeper level, at first, people were like, what are we talking about? Nicole's crying in this meeting. And then by the end of it, we were connected on such a deep level and also got really good work done. Like we were also really productive as a team. And those lent themselves to each other. But it other people who were at first uncomfortable to slowly move into that direction. And vice versa. I was learning from them. They forced me to do things that was uncomfortable for me. I think what I did do that took a lot of discomfort was create a space where we could push on each other. And I think it just takes modeling, and there's no perfect way to do it. You just got to keep showing up every day in the way that you value.
Goodness. Your answer just is so validating for so many reasons. The first thing I'll bring up is we talk a lot about embodiment in
Hmm.
the work that I do with my client. It's like, yes, embodiment, I feel like it's like the final frontier when you really have like mastered a skill and you give off that energy and ugh. I love that because it's like it's your body, it's like I have been there, I've done the work, and it is energy sucking. Ugh. So I just had to bring the attention to like as much as we don't pay attention sometimes. Your body is always in it and feeling it.
And I'm glad you said that because I think what most people, and especially most experts and or therapists and are like people come in with this really, well, you're going to be uncomfortable, but you're going to get through it. And I'm like, y'all, there's no mastering it. I'm always uncomfortable. Like, and I think that's the thing is sitting with the discomfort to your point. And so that's why I emphasize that because I'm like, I know you feel it. We all feel it. Expert, non expert, whoever's listening, don't pretend like you don't feel it because if you're alive, you feel it.
Yes, because biologically, your brain just don't like it. It takes a lot of energy and it says, no, we don't want to waste energy. So to your point, yes, you never master being uncomfortable. That's why it's called being uncomfortable. The second thing that just felt really validating is with Level for All, we work through this framework of transformation that focuses on the me and then the we and then the collective. And then somebody was like, well,
So,
what's different between the we and the collective, right? Well, the we is the interconnection between the people that you actually know have influence on you and you have influence over. The collective is more in terms of like, as a world citizen, what are my responsibilities? Or, and with that, as a world citizens, what are the systems that are governing, maybe not just my community or the people that I relate with on a general basis, that go against my value that I want to stand against. So the me highly focuses on that inner work we're talking about, the uncomfortable, that allows us to show up in the we in a way that sets the boundaries and holds the spaces so that we can all sit in discomfort in a way where we're not eating each other, but we're actually holding each other. And then
Yeah.
once we've kind of mastered that in a team, we can start looking at the systems that have created us and made us have to go through this process of like healing the me so I can be with the we. And I wouldn't use the word perfection, even though I do think in every moment you're the perfect you that you need to be. What I mean by perfect, like when I say perfection, I genuinely feel that way, that I'm the perfect me that I need to be in this moment because I know I'll change in the next moment and I'll be the perfect me that I need to be in that moment as well because all moments ask for different things. The healing of the me really is focused on detaching from the beliefs that your worth is connected to anything because it's not. And I did a training once. It's beautiful training. That one sentence that changed my life. They
Yeah.
had a candle and they said, "Why do you think you can disconnect from your source?" And just put the hands around. It's like, this is your source. That light, that's your source. What can I do to keep you from being connected to that? There's absolutely nothing that disconnects you from source. And we've been taught to connect our worth to things, in that me space is really to completely disconnect yourself from the idea that you're worthy because. No, you're worthy because you exist. That's it. Are you, even when you're not breathing, right? Because my memories of you once you've transitioned from this physical state also keep you worthy.
Yeah.
So that space helps you disconnect completely from all the things that make you feel unworthy. And once you really kind of sit in that, when I'm going through a transition, and I love your questions about what am I feeling? You don't question those feelings because I'm like, no, I'm worthy. If I'm a human being who has the right to feel all of the things.
Mhm.
And when you sit in that, there are things that you don't question about giving yourself permission to be and exist. And then in the we, that's where it becomes difficult, right? Because it's easy for me to like figure these, and not no, it's not easy. I take it back. I've been there. It's not easy. But what I find is it's very hard to disconnect the me work from the we work
Yeah.
because it's in the we that I'm, oh, I didn't know that part of me was there.
Hmm.
Well,
Hmm.
thank you for showing that to me. Now let's go explore and see
Yeah.
what does that mean? Where did that come from? And it's
Yeah.
in the we that you continue to deepen that self-awareness. And then I like to say, like, I feel like in the we, you luckily you're fortunate enough to have people who have a bird's eye view, who can come in and say, oh, that's over there. That's over there. That's over there. And then you don't have that in the me work.
Yeah, for sure.
And so in the me work, you focus on the self-regulation so that you don't cause harm in the we. But when you're in the we, you're still doing the me work
Hmm.
because
Oh, yeah.
it's just a beautiful dance. And then eventually you take on the bigger systems that have put us in this situation where we have to heal the me and the we so that we can have a better collective.
Hmm.
So like this is your around like you just got to do it yourself was really truly validating because you said do it yourself, model it,
Yeah.
and then that ripple effects just like shifts the way that we relate to one another.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, because and to your point, when you're moving from me to we, you have to start with me, but the me never stops. And if you are showing up in a way and you are committing to showing up with your values and in whatever way you want to show up, that is going to influence a relationship that you're in. And so you are making micro changes that then ripple and ripple to someone else. And maybe the way I show up might help someone just slightly become more aware of their feelings. And then that makes them more, you know, probable to talk about it. And then that makes someone else go, oh, they're like telling me they're feeling lonely. Like, who's talking about that? I actually feel lonely too. And it's just one little thing, but it grows and grows and grows.
For sure. If you could look at directly at the listeners right now
Mm.
who are sitting in the tension of their own life transitions, what is one piece of perspective you would offer them about leaning on relationships to get through it?
Don't do whatever you're doing in isolation. I've done it and it's really hard. And it's really, I will say, one of the hardest things you can do is try to do anything in isolation. Our souls, in my opinion, are not meant to ever be in isolation. We start to kind of implode in on ourselves. I feel like if you look at a flower that starts to die, like that's what happens when we try to do it alone. Any of it. And I don't mean someone needs to come in and fix anything, but you need to let them in. They can be there with you and maybe they can give you a hug. Maybe they can just hear you when you've got all the things rattling around in your brain that you were trying to do. Having someone just hear you and go, oh my God, that sounds so hard. Like, even that in itself has gotten me through the darkest of days. And I think one thing I would say that I have now that I have not always had are just one or two people. That's all you need. One or two core people that are safe, that are in relationship with you, that can just be in it. No one needs to give you, maybe suggestions are needed. I do love a good suggestion. I'm always like, what should I do? Tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do. I love it. But also, sometimes I just need my best friend to go, girl, you are in it. Like, no one can really, I can hold your hand. And that's the most empowering thing. So I would just say, whatever you're doing, you need to be in relationship with someone who is healthy and safe. And then you can conquer anything. You can do it alone, but it'll be a lot
Yes.
harder and a lot less life-giving.
Yeah. Oof. Life-giving. What a word. Thank you so much. This has been such an incredible conversation. We like to end our session by, I'm going to invite you to complete this sentence. Change is,
Hard. Do you just want one word? Do you want an explanation? I wish
whatever you, complete the sentence.
change is hard. And there is nothing that is going
Period.
to change that.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Until then, I invite you, listener, to reflect on that question yourself. Who taught you the most about relationship? Thank you for agreeing to join me for Talk to Me. Let's build this beloved community together. Thank you for joining us in the practice of listening today on Talk to Me. We hope this conversation gave you a new route to water in your own leadership or life. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend and visit us at lovebeforeall.com to continue building the beloved community together. Until next time, grow in love and grow with love.